Hi everyone. So in episode 2, we will be using the TyFlow add-on to simulate a Voronoi fracture. So I've just got my basic setup. I have my target camera on my plane. And as you can see there, that's the TyFlow icon as to show that there's one active. I'll just make another one just so you can see how they're created. So I'll just delete that one and just try and select the TyFlow that I've already created. So I'll go into that viewport, that's an easier one. And just in the Modify tab, you go to the Open Editor, and that'll open your TyFlow. Here you can see that I've already created the simulation that we're going to do. So you've got your Event 1, which is your birth object. So the birth objects you can find down here in all the icon tabs, or you can just press Tab and type birth, or anything you're looking for, in this case, Voronoi fracture. So our birth object is, of course, the cylinder that I've created here. So I'll maybe take this off hidden line just to see it a bit clearer. So I've got a cylinder that I've put in midair. And to select that cylinder, you just click Pick. Because I've already selected it, it selected the plane behind. So I'll just go ahead and delete that plane. So once we have our cylinder selected, we then have our Voronoi fracture above. You then want to apply a physics shape to that, and this is where you give various physical attributes to the particles. Then you're going to go to a collision of those particles, followed by a display, which will display the geometry of those particles. Then you'll click Mesh, which will render the instance of it, and this is where you can apply a material, of course, to that TyFlow scene. So it'll separate it from the actual cylinder that you've created. And there you can find where your materials are to assign to the TyFlow. So the next thing, of course, you want to do is create the second event, which is what the particles will collide with, which are the planes. So I've just gone ahead and applied that collision to those planes, and then of course applied that instance material as well. So they're your basic two setups there. So you can see as you move that slider along, the cylinder will start to fall because it has physics attributes applied to it. And as you can see there, as it'll impact the ground, I'll take it back and I'll just hide the original cylinder just so we don't get confused with what is what. So now you can only see the TyFlow simulation. So in our physical camera view, I'll just expand that view and freeze that plane and freeze that back plane too, just so we don't move anything by accident. Then as I move that slider or press play, you will get that simulated look of a cylinder falling and essentially fracturing and exploding on the floor. It does take a while to render, so make sure that you can adjust the amount of fractures, the type of fracture, the percentage of variances in those fractures, depending on how strong your computer is. And here are just my kind of material library that I've applied to this. You can essentially just drag it onto that TyFlow icon, or do it the other way I showed, where you apply an actual material code to it. And as you can see there, through 60 frames, it shows the complete fracture. So I'll just go ahead and click render. It's taking a little bit of time to process. And there we go. So you can see there our rendered simulation of a exploded cylinder. So I think the variations of particles there are quite good. You've got a couple large pieces and some small pieces, so it looks quite realistic. I've also got a bit of a reflection on the plane below, so you can see a little bit more depth in the actual render as well. And that is how to use TyFlow to create a Voronoi fracture.